Hey, going live. Wanted to share some thoughts, some ideas. Hey, just wanted to share some thoughts, some ideas on something I think is important. Just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Sound check. Can I be heard? Hey, thanks for checking me out. I know this was like kind of a last moment, but I had some thoughts. Hey, Rich, thanks. All right, coming through. Perfect. Good. Can I just speak normal like this, or do I have to? Sounds good. All right. Good. Great. Thanks. Hey, Sean. Good. Thanks, Chaos, for you. Hey, what's up, the goddess? Man, I don't like wearing glasses, man. I like just being able to talk but you guys were on the show last night, and I want to talk about something that's not exactly from the show, but related to it. And you guys know that show, we had a little bit of a rumble on that show last night. So yeah, let's get the likes up for this. Share this one. This one is going to be, listen, if you know a guy who's blue pill, a guy he's straddling the fence and he's trying to figure out if he wants to be red pill or MGTOW, or just, this guy has been disenchanted, not happy with the way women are handling them. Share this one. Share this one with guys who really need to hear this, because I'm going to be I'm asking, why are men trying to make women fall in love? Like, is love a good investment? And I'm not sure if men are really thinking this out. Even if you grew up with a father, I think there's just too much that's not being told to guys, and we've been sold a lie. Yeah, we've been sold a lie for a long time, and men have bought into it. So now men are trying to fight their way out, and women are trying to keep men back, keep men in the trap that essentially men kind of made this trap for themselves. Hey, Smiley, thanks. Peace. Thanks to you. Peace to you too. Hey, McNeil Bed, what's up? Nice convo with you. Yeah, definitely. No question. Yeah, last night was interesting. All right, cool, Smiley. Yeah. This is somewhat related to that. Yeah, checking your mother is partly related to that. I'm going to bring kind of full circle a lot of things. I did that video recently about the chemicals in your body, and she's never going to love you. This is more related to that. But there's a piece that I didn't make so clear. I want to make it very clear in this one. Yeah, we've been taught how to find a mate. Yeah, Reggie, dark blue pill, huh? Yeah. No question. Yep, crammed down our throats. No one even asked us. Hey, thanks, McNeil. Yep. So, one of some of you guys may have already heard me talk about this, and I just want to make sure I get the right name and the date. So basically, what we've had crammed down our throats is a book that a lot of women fell in love with. And the book was written by John Keats, somewhere around 1817. So if you think about it, relationships have always been marriages. They've been arranged, somewhat arranged. There were clear lines of roles. Your father even would make sure you didn't screw up that marriage, you know, because your family name is on the line. So you couldn't just be doing dumb stuff. And I know, Reg, you and I have talked about, you would tell your son-in-law to keep your daughter in check. You know, if she calls saying he hit me, the first thing you want to know is, what did you do? And I think we kind of have gotten away from that. And even there are a lot of fathers who are playing the role of a simp now. You hear these stories about fathers paying their daughter's rent and a car note. I mean, she's living on her own, but basically the parents are still taking care of her, just in her own, supposedly her own location. So, damn it, I have it. I have this file with a whole bunch of stuff in here. But I should have looked at this before. So all these years, there it is. So all these years, marriages were either arranged, somewhat arranged, your family was involved. And there was, you could say the families helped keep the marriage in check. So the woman didn't run off the rails. And she definitely couldn't be whoring around. That would be, you'd be a disgrace to your family. But in the year 1819, just let me give you this history, guys. In the year 1819, a guy named John Keats wrote a book, La Belle Dame Sans Merci. And this was one of the first love stories, a novel. And no one really cared about it, except by the 1850s, a lot of women started having these fantasies about what they read in a book. So from about the 1850s, that's where this whole idea of romance and flowers and a man has to do all this stuff. None of that stuff existed before. And then you get, what do you call it? De Beers in the 20s saying diamonds are a girl's best friend. And now here we are, materialism, romance. And the guy, this John Keats, it was just a book. It was just a love story. It was just a book, except that back then, that was like their Hollywood, reading books. But women ate it up. And all women did is read the book and sell it. They sold it to men. And here we are in 2020, actually 201 years after the book was written, and women are still selling it. And we've, as you were saying, Chaos for You, it was shoved down our throats. They didn't ask us if it made sense. They didn't tell the women what they were responsible for. All we know is, as men, this is our job, and this is what we're supposed to do for women. So the question is love really a good investment for a man? So, you know, I've invested a lot in the stock market, and I know if I put $100 in the stock market, if I get a decent return of 10% at the end of the year, if I have $110, I receive something back for my $100. And I think a lot of men are not looking at women that way, because women are claiming they are a good investment, but men are not asking, what's my return? And if you start asking women, what's your return? Then you start to see that this idea of trying to buy her love or romance your way into her heart isn't going to work. It's just a bad idea. I mean, love is a poor investment if you've got to put your money and resources into it. But I'm going to say something even colder than that. Yeah. Yep. That was the original romance novel. Why was the book written? The book was written because the guy just wrote a book. It was just he was just, let's just say he was a nobody, and he wrote a book, and it stuck. But it took 30 years for the book to stick. So he wrote it in 1819 and no one really cared about it. This has happened more than once. I don't want to get off track, but there was actually at one point no such thing as a teenage rebel. And some guy, and I can't remember the book, but back in the mid 1700s, a guy wrote a book about a teenage novel, a teenage rebellion. And some 100 years after that book was written, all of a sudden you started getting teenage rebellion. So it's amazing how people are influenced, and people are always claiming, oh, I think for myself. But, you know, when you start doing a historical timeline, you start to see where certain behaviors start. So, like I said, John Keats wrote this book, and women are still selling it to us. But I said to you guys in another video that technically what we are calling love, what we are feeling, what we think the woman is feeling, it's not love at all, right? So let me take it a step further. And you guys are going to hate hearing this. Let's get the likes up on this one. Let's get some more likes in here. Get more likes in the house. Yeah, the idea of love. So I'm going to tell you something about your mother. Yeah, Rashid. I'm going to tell you the truth. So if I put it to you like this, it will help you understand your own mother. Not even your mother loves you. And I know you guys, some of you guys are like, oh, that's confused. You know, how could you say that? I know my mom loves me and she helped me, and she, as mothers will say, they gave you life and all this stuff. But I want to look at this as facts. So what we've been taught to believe is love is really just our body, like it's a biochemical secretion. In one of the videos, I talked about dopamine, oxytocin, and vasopressin. Vasopressin is big in men, and so is dopamine. Hell, vasopressin enhances the dopamine rush. So those neurochemicals, when they secrete, that's just nature's way of making sure male and female humans procreate. Other animals get it too, other mammals. So that's how we have sexual feelings. We have sex, we perpetuate the being. Now, women secrete more what they call oxytocin. They call it the love drug. It secretes from the brain. When she gets pregnant, she secretes a lot. If a woman is deficient in oxytocin, that woman is dangerous to her children. She will easily abandon them. She will murder them. See, the oxytocin, your mother has oxytocin so that she would bond with you. If you took oxytocin out of your mother, she would not bond with you. She would not care for you. See, that's not love. That's just nature's way of making sure women didn't dispose of their children. So if you understand that your mother, her care for you, right, is not an intellectual, it's not from the heart, it is her brain secreting a fluid that's forcing her to care, bond for you, you're part of her. But without that, you're just another body. Actually, you become a liability. I mean, the cold thing is, if your mother didn't have oxytocin, she'd get rid of you so she can go find another man or go have sex again. Do you guys get that? Your mothers care for you. I'm not saying none of your mothers care for you. I'm saying that even your mother Hey, thanks, Alan. Even your mother doesn't have love for you. So if you're a man, if your mother doesn't love you, if all she has is a chemical secretion that's forcing her to bond with you, and if anything happens to throw off that chemical secretion, she's going to respond very differently. And so there are foods that could impede it. There are other neurochemicals. She could have an imbalance. And you hear about mothers who are very abusive to their children. You know, all the steroids and chemicals that are in our foods and pesticides could actually be altering the bonding chemical in women. And we may actually be witnessing that. So there are more mothers who are abusing their children than ever. And this pandemic is showing it even more. So if your mother needs oxytocin to bond with you and care with you, so does the woman that you want to be with. Any woman you want to be with. Yeah, exactly. All the right fillers and GMOs in the food, right? So that can throw off a woman's flow of oxytocin, and that woman just could end up caring nothing about you. So your mother cares about you only because of oxytocin. That's it. So here you are attempting to do what you think is love based on the movies and books and this guy John Keats book. And really all you want to do is get this woman's oxytocin to flow. I mean, if you understand, if you can accept that, if you can accept the only thing you really want from a woman is her oxytocin to flow. Because if her oxytocin flows, she's going to have very good, comfortable bonding feelings, and she's going to want more of it. And when that's combined with dopamine, that becomes like a drug. So if you want to be a player, you just need to understand the things that woman finds attractive. And, you know, it's not always as complex as people think, you know. So sometimes it could be because you resemble her father or a man in her family, uncle, grandfather, who she has an affinity for, her brother. If you watch women who like you, if you really look at yourself, you'll see that the way you smile is similar to hers. Maybe the way you hold your head, you know, when you talk side, you know, you tilt your head to the side. When she looks at you, she's looking at something that's familiar to her. It could be in her family. It could be an ex that she's trying to replicate. And all of these things that are familiar that she finds comfort with will support flowing oxytocin. I actually knew a woman who was an attorney. She was in her mid-40s. And one of the things that she loved her boyfriend to do was to pick her up. She was very short. She liked him to pick her up, hold her by her feet upside down. She loved that. Like, how many adult women want to be picked up by their feet and held up? And she was an attorney. She was a good attorney. Except that's what her father did to her when she was a little girl. And it reminds her of the good times. So that's going to create oxytocin and dopamine for her. And that helps her create a bond with her boyfriend. So if you understand, it's not about trying to get a woman to love you. You really want to get her oxytocin to flow and secrete, and she bonds with you. You can be a player, and all you have to do is understand the kinds of movies a woman or certain women like, right? And the characters. There are guys who are really smooth with that. All they have to do is emulate certain characters, and the woman, that familiarity makes her comfortable. So if you're trying to invest in love without understanding, it has nothing to do with love, and you end up playing yourself because you too are secreting vasopressin and dopamine and a little bit of, you have oxytocin also. You end up getting hooked. So when a guy is chasing, and you put in all this effort, And the more effort you put in, you end up having more neurochemical secrete. You have these same chemicals secreting that is causing you to bond with her, and you're bonding even with just the chase and the idea of her. You end up getting hooked and caught in it, and she has nothing invested in it. So it's important for you too to have her chase you. So let me do we have a super chat here. McNeil Bell, thank you a lot. $4.99 super chat. This info is priceless, fellas. Y'all don't understand how good this is, especially on Patreon. He teaches us how to manipulate it. Hey, thank you, McNeil. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, if you're not on my Patreon, I have videos over there that are exclusive, and they are not on YouTube or anywhere else. So thanks for that, McNeil. Love having you over here. Good conversation with you too. Yeah, exactly, Rashid. You that's exactly a word that I use. McNeil might remember. I said, instead of you that's you become a drug dealer. And it's oxytocin. Now, see, a woman who's really smart, she may not understand the technical part that I'm giving to you, except she knows how to do and say and speak to you the right way and be, feminine and sexy. And she gets the oxytocin to flow out of you too. And I go much deeper into it in Patreon because women have an advantage over men. So, if you want to hear that and how you can actually avoid getting hooked in a trap that you build. Well, yes, your mother wants things that you can do for her, but your mother's only bonding with you because nature is forcing her to. If your mother loses her flow of oxytocin, she won't care about you. Unless, yes, you can do something for her. And in doing material things for women, that's oxytocin. For some women, it's roses. For another woman, it's weed. For some women, it's much bigger. They need a car. They need diamonds. They need stocks. Some women will take your house. I hear the stories of a guy inheriting his 6-bedroom home from his parents when they died, and he marries a woman who has 2 daughters and gets a divorce, and the woman takes his house that he inherits from his mother. So I'm going to assume a lot of times guys are getting divorces. We hear 80% of divorces are initiated by women. A lot of these women, it's either food that's impeding the flow of oxytocin, so they can just have sex with you like it's nothing, like it's a prostitute, and she's going after your resources. So a lot of women are just not bonding with men. No, I that's a text. I'm not saying men and women should just procreate and that's it. I'm saying understand the playing field. So if you play basketball, you understand if you double dribble, you're going to lose the ball. If you go out of bounds, you need to understand the playing field. And if you understand that a woman's going to bond with you because she flows oxytocin, a woman, and even for you as a guy, a human being, because of the way we are indoctrinated, we don't know the difference between love and biochemical secretions. We assume the biochemical secretion is love. So they've done all kinds of tests where they impede the flow of oxytocin and they see a different response. So nature clearly is intelligent. Nature understood if you want man and women to come together to procreate, they need to have certain kinds of feelings. So we have biochemicals in our body to support that. And then nature says, hey, I want to make sure you take care of those children. You don't just have them and just walk off and continue to have sex because you're addicted to the dopamine secretion of sex. So there's an oxytocin that has a woman bond with a child. Like that child's part of her. You'll hear women say their newborn infant loves me. The infant doesn't even know anything about love except the oxytocin. What the woman has going on in her body is so strong, it makes her believe things that are not happening. So if you understand how to get a woman to secrete oxytocin, you don't fight against it. So if it depends on what you want out of the woman. If you're looking for a long-term relationship, you need to understand certain things about protection and provision, right? But you don't want to be a sucker. Because a lot of times women ask for things and that's not really what they want. So you cannot always go by what a woman tells you she wants. You know, in other videos, I said, your intellect, your intelligence is really important. And I want to get back to that conversation. But let me just say this. Years ago, if you guys, I don't know the age of you guys, but there was instead of an iPod, we used to have something called a Walkman, and you put a cassette in it and you listen to it. Well, when the Walkman they only made the Walkman in black, one color black. Well, they decided to make a different color. They tried in yellow, and they wanted to see how many people might want yellow. So they did a focus group. They brought a whole bunch of people into a room, and they showed the black Walkman and the yellow Walkman. And they asked the people in the group, which one do you think most people will buy? Well, most people in the focus group said, oh man, everyone's going to want the yellow Walkman. Yeah, that's so attractive. And they asked some other questions. Well, they said to the people in the focus group, hey, we want to thank you for participating. And for participating, we're going to give each of you one Walkman. The table on the right has a yellow Walkman, and the table on the left has a black one. Well, most people took the black one, even when it was free. So what I'm saying is, when you ask people what they want, they say one thing. So the focus group, they all said everyone wants yellow. But when it came time for them to actually get what they wanted black. So the people at Sony who did the focus group, they learned that you cannot always listen to the customer. The customer is not always right because they sometimes don't even know what they want. So a lot of times women are saying, I want this guy who's is so emotionally expressive and deep feelings and just gives me his paycheck. And then when you do all those things, she resents you. Because that's not what will make oxytocin flow in her. It's just not. So you cannot listen to what women tell you. Drugs and alcohol, they actually, that's more dopamine. It's not flowing oxytocin. Oxytocin is very different stimulus. Virgins are the best option. They can be a lot cleaner. Hey, thanks, Gary. See, women have images of love, and they get it like this book I mentioned. The image of love doesn't have anything to do with reality. And it's like the focus group for the Sony Walkman. They may say they want all this stuff based on the image, and when they get it, it's not what they really want. Most women really do want a man. And this, what they call toxic masculinity, is exactly what most women want. They want masculinity. And I don't mean in a physically abusive way, but in a firm, manly kind of, these are your boundaries. And, you'll be emotionally and physically safe with me, but you have to operate within these boundaries that I set out. Otherwise, we get a society that we have now. Too much feeling good. Get burnt out. Yep. Well, so the other thing with these, let's look at dopamine. With these neurochemicals, is that it is very much like a drug addiction, because you're going to need more and more and more. So if you notice, if you try to use material possessions to give to women, that won't be enough in the future. She's going to need more. She's going to say, I'm bored with that. It won't give her the same high. That's the biggest challenge of trying to buy a woman's affection. Exactly, Chris. Yeah. The guy who's trying to be nice, he's in trouble, because that's not what she wants. She may say that out of her mouth. Well, a lot of times these women are bored themselves. So if you ask a woman just a straight, direct question, hey, I don't mind investing in you. I'll put whatever money it takes to make this work. Just tell me what I get in return, because investing is important to me. So I will invest in you. You just have to tell me what my return is, because perhaps I can get a better return. You may get a better return from another woman, or you'll get a better return in a business or a stock market. And usually women can't answer that question. When you ask, what's my return? If they start talking about, I'll be your cheerleader, it's, you can get a cheerleader from a 7-year-old. So I'm saying that a lot of men have been getting hooked. I'm telling you, not even your mother loves you. Trying to get a woman to love you is a dead end. And so trying to get your mother to love you is also a dead end. Now, she has the bonding chemicals, and there's something else in our society. Women do not like looking bad. So no woman wants to look like a bad mother. So there's certain things that she has boundaries that are built into society. And the women who go outside those boundaries, like abandon their children or kill them, that's just a perfect example of a woman who has a clear imbalance in the natural biochemical flow. Exactly, right. If you try to please a woman, you're in trouble. Right? I think that's one of the biggest problems, that we've been taught that. I wrote something up, like, we've been taught that women are made from sugar and spice and everything nice, and there's a long list of things that we are supposed to do as men to please them. And when you look at a list of women have, there's nothing on it. When you ask women just straight, what did you learn about what you were supposed to do to please a man? And it's nothing. Exactly. And they're not only do they yearn for social acceptance more than men, they yearn for men that will improve their social acceptance. And if they're looking for a guy who, yeah. No question. Well, yeah, they're riding the social coattails of men. And one of the biggest mistakes we've made is giving so many women jobs. One of the things that I would want it to get across is that we may be literally repeating history. In the year 1918, they had the Spanish flu. It was a pandemic. In the 20s, women went crazy sexually. They were promiscuous. They were being thought whores. We had a whore culture in the 20s, and the stock market crashed. I wonder if that was done on purpose to shut down the promiscuity of women. And we may be on the same path because a lot of guys are just walking away and not wanting to deal with women. And this is happening in other countries also. Hell, even in the Middle East, the guy was putting up there. Yeah, Chris, they are definitely codependent. And not only are they seeking validation, women don't want to go out and build their own. If a woman says, I don't need a man, and you say, well, all of you women who don't need a man, go out and build your own civilization. I don't mind, go away. Then they get offended by that. Or they'll say, well, men should go. Hell, we built this, you should go. So women are codependent and look for validation, but they're codependent on men being the workhorses. So they want men to build a civilization, and then they want to run it. So if you can see that women have that kind of mindset in the big picture, that men should be responsible for doing everything, and then she wants to be in charge of it. So here you are attempting to get a woman to love you, and she wants you to build the relationship, and then she wants to run the relationship. So I'm saying, forget about ever thinking about trying to get love from a woman. If the only thing, and most women are only offering sex, if that's all you want from her, accept that. Just accept it. Don't be disappointed that she has nothing more to offer. Right. Exactly, PJ. So I just read this now. So you accept it about your mother. So I'm saying accept this about all women. They want to manipulate you, and they're trying to get something. Yeah, repeal the 19th Amendment. So here's another thing that I'm saying, and I know a lot of guys talk on YouTube about, develop yourself. I think a lot of guys. So this whole the dopamine, the neurochemicals that we get, they feel good. It's really not love. It's just not. If there is such a thing as love, it's something very different, and it has nothing to do with neurochemicals that secrete from your body. I don't care if it's a mother or father, boyfriend, girl, siblings, boyfriend, girlfriend, none of that. Those neurochemicals that secrete because they're things that are comfortable to us, soothing, they make us feel good. That's not love, but we've been told it is. But I think one of the biggest problems is, one, as someone said in the chat or at the beginning, there are a bunch of things that were just shoved down our throats. No one asked. And as we get older, a lot of guys, I think, become in conflict because you're told about how innocent girls are, and then you're seeing someone's wife cheating on him. You see that women are okay with you having multiple women. They just want dick. You see all these things. Women will do anything for money or gifts, and they don't even care about the guy. They still are. We see all these things that conflict with what we were originally taught. So a lot of guys end up in conflict with themselves because they were sold something from a very young age and it's difficult to unlearn and undo what's been done. So what I'm getting at is that now it's up to men to start investing in themselves so they can train themselves out. Like if you were taught something, you really kind of have to now unteach yourself to unlearn it. So whether you do it on your own, or you do it as a group, or you do it with someone who is a trained, I'll say a guide, and has the tools to take you on the journey, the more intelligent men become, the easier it is for you to recognize the patterns that you'll see. And I know a lot of women will get upset with what I'm going to say, but you'll see a pattern that no matter which woman it is. I've lived in several countries and I saw the patterns. I lived in the jungle with Mayan Indians, and you see the same pattern from women. Even though they were cooperative, there were certain patterns that you just see. The more intelligent men develop themselves to be, the easier it is for you to navigate through the chaos a woman brings. That's one. The easier it is for you to take your stand and force her to operate within your boundaries. And when you see those patterns, you can thwart, right? You can stop her manipulation. You can stop it before it happens, or you just start cutting certain people out of your life. That's going to be on men. The only reason women have gotten so out of control right now is because men have let go of the reins. And women don't want them. Like someone said in the group, the more you try to give to women, they'll resent you. So women are resenting men right now because so many men have turned over the reins to women. They don't want to build a society. They just want someone to build it for them, and they want to be in charge of it. That's illogical. Yeah, I mean, that's essentially either walk away or just give them all put them on a cruise ship and send them to some island and let them work it out. I mean, we stop arguing with them. If they are better than men, let's just pack them up on a bunch of princess cruise ships. All you can eat, they can gain as much weight as they want and go build their own thing. And don't let them come back. Yeah, it takes work to unlearn this. I mean, it's almost like you have to take the stand that you a lie. Everything you know is a lie. Yeah, Islam does, but you were also saying, Rashid, the divorce is going up, right? That you have feminism is moving in. I know a woman who's in Singapore, and there are a lot of Muslims in Singapore. And Singapore is, no question, first world, perhaps more advanced than the US in a lot of ways. And feminism is squeezing into that. Yeah, but you know what? When they say it's controlling, that's more of, they're worried about how their friends and family will look at them. And they are the ones, most likely that's third party interference, because women do not mind a man putting boundaries. They know they're crazy. They will admit it. They know that. They know they need boundaries to operate in. So let them call you controlling. You know what? Even let them call you this. I'm a sexist. I'm proud of it. If they call you a misogynist, hell, if they call you a sexist, misogynist asshole, that means you're doing it right. If you are called a sexist, that means you're doing it right. You're being controlling, you're doing it right. Because according to the legal system in the US, women are treated legally like children. I mean, if a woman can rape a 14-year-old boy and then hit him for child support when he's 18, that means she wasn't even responsible for the action she took. If a woman can be married, get impregnated by another man, and the man still has to pay for child support for the child who's not his because the court says you know what kind of woman you married. Even the court systems are treating women as though they are children. So don't worry about if they say you're emotionally manipulating or controlling, because they know they need that. Those are just tactics that women have used that have allowed men to loosen the reins. That has been the problem. And so that's why I'm saying the more intellectually powerful men become, the less likely a woman can manipulate you. It's hard to manipulate someone who's intelligent because they can sort of see what's happening. They understand what you're doing before you even do it. And she'll respect that more. Yeah, you can put them on the streets. Sometimes, exactly. No room for negotiation. When women say, well, this is not fair, we always have to do things your way, what you won't hear her say is, I'm out. Now, she just doesn't care about you at all, right? So that's something different. Yeah, it's like a cheat code. There are times women can be logical, but if you put a little pressure on women, a lot of times they're not as logical. They want to avoid pressure, and so that's one of the challenges in a relationship. If just it's the way our biology is made up. It's why men handle certain things much better than women. But I think yep, definitely protected class. When it benefits them, and is that always logic or is that more manipulation? See, if you also understand that women, the way their brain functions, there's a huge difference because women have more activity. But usually the activity is fear. Women are significantly much more of a coward than men. They're always thinking about what could go wrong. They have a million different ways for what's wrong with them, what's wrong with the guy, and how they're going to get hurt, screwed, taken advantage of. And feminism has fed into that. All it did was feed that monster that's always afraid of something happening. So women are more on the lookout for things going wrong. So they're always trying to protect themselves from something going wrong, even though there's nothing wrong. And that's a lot of times how they end up sabotaging themselves. So like these are things that as a man, if you understand this, it's easier to navigate and deal with it, even if it's your mother. Hey, never let a woman lead you. And if this is how it makes you look, never let her lead you. Now, I'm not saying women are stupid and they have nothing to say. Sometimes they're really good in certain fields. They have some expertise, right? Sometimes their manipulation tactics can help you better negotiate. Sometimes they can be useful. But to allow them to lead you in a relationship and lead you in life in general, you're going to be in trouble and she'll resent you for it. She'll start telling you what real men are supposed to do. And this is where a lot of guys get in trouble. You're letting women define manhood. Yeah. And that's right. External factors that have them start thinking about fearful things they want to avoid, and that gets them in trouble. And I think it seems like, and I can't give you science behind this, but it seems like because women are more worried about things, right? So women have much higher anxiety, higher suicide attempts. That blinds them from looking long term and big picture because they get so focused in on these couple of things that could go wrong that will never go wrong. They never happen. They make up stories in their head. They write entire novels about things that could go wrong, even though it never happened. Right. So because they don't look at the big picture and the long term, right, because you can see that this whole idea of feminism, women didn't look at long term that this would eventually backfire. They didn't see that uh, if some of them wanted jobs, right, and they want to have a gay marriage, and you want two women to live together, which this is what they were pushing. They wanted the tax benefits and healthcare benefits of being married. So they got it, except they kept pushing and kept pushing. They couldn't see that long term they had gone out of bounds. Well, being a single mother, sure, they've got some fear. That's why single mothers are much more abusive to their children than two-parent households. They have fears about that, except they know that they always have uh, daddy government who's going to fund it. Yeah, lesbians. So women have a safety net. Men don't have that safety net. So, that's another thing. So part of what I'm also saying that as fathers, so if any of you are fathers and you have daughters and you're just telling her she's a princess and you never educated her to be a real princess and a princess who understands responsibility and decision making and long term costs and benefits in the bigger picture, and it's bigger than herself. If you're just telling her she's a princess, what she's going to do is go out and be in a world, and you just simped as a daddy. So now she's expecting other men to do the same thing. Look, really, what she wants is a man who's going to make her feel like a safe woman. She's looking for a man. Most women actually don't have a problem with male dominance. Like even the idea of me man, you woman, they may laugh, they may say, no, you can't tell me that, but ultimately they're going to be okay with that. Well, wait a second. Tommy Lauren apologized. She actually, and you know, the Tommy Lauren story actually is good because she did try that and say men were trash. And when you see that men stood up and put her in check, she backtracked and apologized. And that is a perfect example of the kind of power men have. They just have to keep that full time. Men put their foot on her neck. And she stood up straight, apologized, and instead of being I'm strong and independent, she became very girly. You know what? Who cares if she meant it? See, that's who gives a damn if they mean it. If I tell you to sit down and you sit down, you tell a woman to sit down. You don't care if she means it when she sits down. She sat her ass down. When you say that's enough, shut your trap, and she shuts up, who cares what the hell is running in her head? I don't care about what if I worry about what she means, then I've got to get involved in the feelings behind it. And I don't care about that. Sit down and shut up is what it means. When you say that's enough, she can have all the babble going on in her head, but enough is enough. What do you mean, got to learn from the mistake? What mistake? So, the biology of a man, repercussion. For whose actions? Her actions? What? Listen, the biology of a man is for power. Physical, mental, accomplishments. That's what we have in us. Women don't have that. There are some women who have an imbalance of their biochemicals and they become misfits. They become alcoholics, prostitutes, drug addicts, criminals. They become misfits. I'm going to answer that, PJ. So what women respect is power. And what I'm saying is men are biologically built for power. And you have every right as a man to be able to assert your power. So, from the way we raise boys now in school, we condemn boys for wanting to assert their own biological power of wrestling and tussling and playing rough games. Hell, man, when I was in first, second, third grade, maybe fourth, I went to a Catholic school. I wore a suit and tie every day. And at lunchtime or after school or in the morning, we played tackle football on the tar pavement, on hard pavement. I went home with holes in my knees. I fell. I had scrapes. And the teachers never stopped us. We were allowed to be these rough, rugged boys who enjoyed playing. The girls never wanted to play with us, and it was perfect. We didn't want them playing with us. As men, we never lose that, and our society condemns us for being what our biology demands. The same way a woman's biology demands that she bond with a child, our biology demands power, and we have a right to express it. And the more you try to suppress that natural urge that men have, it's going to come out in other ways. It's going to come out in criminal behavior, rape, crime. There are guys who want to work with jackhammers, and there are other guys who want to work in a boardroom or negotiating as an attorney. There are guys who want to operate bulldozers. These are all our natural way of expressing our biological manhood, and we have a right to it. And when we express that, women will honor that. The problem comes when men back down from that. When you let a woman back you down and try to tell you what a real man is, you have the biological right to be a man and express yourself as a man. I mean, when we did the show last night, it got a little bit rough, but it was men talking to men. There was some clashing, and it doesn't matter if everyone liked one another or not. This is how men will engage one another. And for men to reel that in to make women comfortable, you just took manhood out of the workplace or out of your own personal life just to accommodate women. And then she's going to resent you for listening to her and being less of a man. I know a guy who was married for about 25 years, 5 children, upper middle class, hardworking guy, put in a lot of hours, Wife was a nurse. Sometimes she didn't work. She didn't have to work, but she liked working, so she would work. And then she wouldn't work. She had children. And then she had a friend who was whispering in her ear about what she should be doing and how the husband should be home more. So she got the ambitious guy who gave her all the mink coats and diamond rings and the big house. And then she complained about that. She had someone whispering in her ear. She demanded a divorce. So he fought for it. Eventually, she got what she wanted, a divorce. They went to all kinds of counseling and she didn't want it. Well, he remarried. She never did. 10 years after, she said to him, "Why did you divorce me? You know I was just crazy. I'm just crazy. You knew I would eventually come around. You should have just helped me come around." This is the insanity that women will sell to men. And this is why I keep saying it's men who have to create boundaries. You have the biological right to be a man who creates boundaries and you enforce them. That is a role of a man in this world, in your family. And when you give that up, if you give up that role because you want to accommodate a woman, and if she tells you, "I don't feel safe," that's the lesbian feminist who are telling them that. That's that third party interference whispering in her ear that you're going to dominate her. See, if sometimes it's better to enforce your manhood with a woman, and if she doesn't like it, let her go, where she will learn that you didn't tolerate it. And if the next guy does the same thing, she will learn. Sometimes I've done things with women with the hope that the next guy will benefit from what I'm doing. So if guys start to think that way, if too many men think, "Well, I don't want to miss this opportunity and I want to get the pussy and I want her to be nice to me. I want her to like me." And then when a guy like me comes along, she's like, "Oh, well, why are you being so mean? Why are you being so harsh with me? Other men don't do this." If all men did it, there would be nowhere to go. And if they didn't like it, they can go to another fucking island and build their own shit. But if all men did it, with your daughters included, there are boundaries, and you have the masculine right to do that. And if they want to call you a sexist, fine. Let them say that. But if she walks and doesn't like it, she will have something to carry with her that you instilled in her, that there are boundaries. Like the guy was saying, his wife wanted a divorce. He eventually gave it to her, and she had regrets. So PJ, I hope that answered your question. I mean, that's where I was going just before you asked it. See, you don't care what a woman thinks about manhood. That's not her place. No man has the right to tell any man how to be a man. No man, no woman. Like, you decide what it means to be a man. And if you make that clear to a woman, then she also needs to know she has one job. Her job is to know what it means to be a woman. Don't ever tell me what it means to be a man. Don't even look at me asking about what manhood is. It is not her job, ever. She has a better chance going over to an eagle and telling an eagle how to be an eagle. If she wants to tell someone how to be something, go to a horse or an eagle. Go somewhere else. But she has no right. Only you decide what kind of man you want to be. And, things like this are good for men to be able to engage one another. But men need the freedom to be men. We've given women the freedom to be anything they want. And they don't even have to they don't even have to express themselves as a woman, and that's accepted. Good question. Avoided divorcing her. Yeah. Yeah, he probably was better off divorcing her. I mean, it's third party interference is a huge reason why a lot of marriages and relationships fail. It's and thank you, McNeil Bell. If you want to do anything beyond being a player or just Netflix and chill, just if you understand what a woman is bringing is pussy and you accept that, just accept it. That's okay. But if you really have some sort of commitment to build a legacy and have children and you want to pass something on and you want to do that, then you really need to be selective about who's realistically compatible. And it's not just her. You need to make sure the culture of her family is compatible because she is a product of her environment, her family. And not having both parents is where she's already at a deficit because she has no idea what it looks like to see male authority assert itself and draw boundaries and lines. So she will always think that she doesn't have to be responsive to male authority. So if he would have stayed with the woman, maybe he would have had problems again. There are always three sides to the story. There's his side, her side, and what really happened. So I only heard his side of the story. So I don't know if it would have been a good idea to stay with him. He married a second time and that didn't work out. That was a divorce. And I know he screwed that up. I know he did. And he just recently married a third time. So I wish him luck. Yeah, that's a good one. Men don't want to align. So, part of the problem is men are taking advice from women. They're actually allowing women to lead them. Right, who can collect the most pussy? That's that is the maybe the ultimate message is that if all men can understand just a few things. One, the harsh reality is your mother doesn't love you. Your mother, you are the recipient of a neurochemical secretion. It has nothing to do with you. Don't take it personally. Nature set it up so that she would care for you. She breastfeeds you. It makes her bond with you more. This is not love. This is just nature's way of forcing her to care for you instead of leaving your ass out in the cold to die. Women know clearly that they can be emotional, they have illogical thoughts, and they need boundaries. I talked before about men being like a container. Women are like water and they can spread just anywhere. Men need to be a container. But to be a container, you can't be made of cardboard because a woman will eat right through that. She'll tear you apart and then she'll escape. And not that you want to keep her a prisoner, but I mean, you want to contain and provide shape and form for her. And she really is looking for that. For a man to do that, you need to develop yourself. But the third thing is men need to understand this collectively. Because if you set boundaries for women and she doesn't like it, let her go to the next guy and she's going to find the same boundaries. Eventually, all women will have to come in line. Or they can be gay. But there are women out there who don't have a problem with it. Yeah, PJ, nature's way to protect you, right? Exactly. Because you're small and you can't do anything for yourself. Okay, I hear what you're saying, Manny. Um, I'm suggesting men stop looking for love. You're looking for something that you can't get to love by the way we were taught to look for love. That's why when I talk about compatibility and compatibility with the family, this is really liking the person and having an affinity for who the person really is. If you're looking for love, really any man or woman who's looking for love, you're just a dope fiend looking for a high. And the high is naturally occurring in your body. It's just dopamine, it's oxytocin and vasopressin. Dopamine is huge in men and women. You get dopamine highs also from cocaine, from alcohol. But you can also get dopamine from working out or hobby. Men can get dopamine from bonding with other men, playing. Maybe there needs to be more spaces for men to be able to play in a rough way, wrestle and tussle and tug of war and all these things that allow us to naturally secrete what's in us waiting to get out. But our society is suppressing that. So you're getting a lot of men. If you keep suppressing people, it takes away their power. So what I am asserting, if men collectively are going to be consistent about creating boundaries, men need to be able to express themselves. They need to be able to speak to men. Like I can speak to another guy and it doesn't mean we're going to fight. It just means that we're being animated and expressing ourselves, and we want to get something. It's an engaging conversation. And I saw someone earlier said, women think love is excitement. And that's not love. And see, this is where women are selling men. Women are selling men on what love is. I'm supposed to have a date that's exciting. A date is really about me getting to know you. It has nothing to do with my resources. And if a woman wants to know if I have sufficient resources to take care of her, she has to qualify for that. Otherwise, it's none of her damn business. Right. If she can't assist you, and I've spoken in another video, one of the major ways for a woman to assist a man is for her to have a network that she could plug you into. She should be out there. First, she should inherit a network from her parents, her mother and her father. Whatever their network is becomes hers. And then she needs to be out there intentionally networking. So when she meets a guy, she's plugging you in. I met a couple. I was out with a woman and we met a couple, and the wife, her father he built a significant company, and this woman married a guy who eventually was going to take over her daddy's company. Like, that's a woman who has something to offer. And the father's going to make sure that this is a good guy because eventually he's going to inherit the company. I advise a lot of CEOs, and I've worked with people who actually inherited their father's company. And I had one client, the grandfather started the company. His son inherited the company, except his son-in-law was a much more savvy businessman. So the son-in-law bought the son out. Right. So now, the founder, his daughter, is married to this guy who takes the company to its next level. And now the grandsons of the founder are running it. So, those are women who have something to offer. Women need to be out there networking and plugging you in so it's easier to get a job. If you start a business, it's easier. She's helping you get clients. She's networking with other women who are married to successful men. She's networking with women who are married to investors, bankers. That's a way of assisting you. And that means she now has a vested interest in your success. She's in it with you. She's literally on the field a lot of people there, you could say there are three ways to live in life. One is you can be up in the stands watching people on the field, being a Monday morning quarterback, or two, you could be on the field playing the game. And the third one is the cheerleader on the sideline. The cheerleader is not on the field. They have no idea what it's like to be on the field. A woman who will get on the field with you and support you has way more power and way more value to you. And we're not teaching little girls this. We're just teaching them they are princesses that should get something. Hey, let me get a super chat. McNeil Bell, thanks again. $2.99. Can we get a video on how to attract them? All right. I can do that. Give me I want to think about that because that's important. Thanks for the super chat, McNeil. Yeah, your support from you guys is important. You guys have seen a lot of my videos. I do a lot of research so that I'm not just talking and giving opinions. I want you to have realistic, effective tools that allows you to do what you want. And one of the most important things is really unlearning the lies that we've inherited. Right, exactly, Rashid, about allowing men to be men. That's the schools have taken away. Some of them took away gym and recess and all these things where boys were actually allowed to go out and be boys. And Manny, yes, you can get these dopamine secretions from other activities, a hobby, exercising, riding a bike, working out in the gym. You can be competing for something. I don't care if it's collecting stamps. It's going to give you a sense of fulfillment. See, a lot of people mistake, oh, I have to be happy, but it's actually having that fulfillment of accomplishment. And dopamine from accomplishment is very different from dopamine from you just came. And look, sex is important. Sex is physically healthy. It's good for your brain. It's good for your whole body. It's really important. So, hey, West Coast Reg, thank you. $5 super chat. Thank you for the support, man. Keep it up. Thank you. Thank you for that, Reg. Thank you. Another super chat. Always appreciate the support very much. I'll just say there's a lot of things that I've been sitting on for decades. I've worked as a sales trainer. I've worked as an executive coach, and I still work as an advisor. So in the knowledge, the research, and in the work that I've done over decades, it's been useful in helping to change the culture of corporations and helping people get to their next level of success, whether it's to become a president of a company or to continue running theirs. And I've always just kind of kept this inside for just clients. It's been useful for women who've dated with me. I mean, any woman who's dated me has taken her life or career to some next level. That's like a promise that I have, that if a woman gets involved with me, she's going to be better off with me than without me. But I've never expressed it in this kind of way with men. And no question, there's a sense of fulfillment doing this with you guys, because you get the most out of this. So instead of bottling this up, I love these kinds of platforms where I can express it. And you guys get the benefit of it. So, any support is appreciated, but just get that there's a sense of fulfillment, because these are things that I've wanted to see guys take on for a long time. And I've watched guys give the wrong message to men, that you should just give women a pass and, just step up and be a real man and keep your mouth shut. And I couldn't understand why those messages were so prevalent in our society, and it's backfired. we've been giving women passes for decades, and what did they do? They just resented that. So yes, having a life of your own. Well, and Rashid, you're talking about female teachers. Basically, the way schools see boys now is they see boys as defective girls, because boys don't sit around like this in class all day. Boys want to be active. Their biochemistry is demanding that they do other things, and girls don't have that. So it's easier for girls to just sit in class and raise their hand. I was a terror in school. I was a mess. I feel bad for some of my teachers. And I played tackle football during, in the second grade, but I was still a problem for the teachers. But now boys are seen, because they don't behave like the girls, boys are seen as a problem. And that's hurting our society. Now, even worse, we're encouraging boys to identify as being a woman and get operations. So. Right. Yeah, Manny. Multiple sources for these. I want you to have the power, Rich. The power. Natural power. Best go-to books for coaching, consulting, advising. I'm trying to become a higher. Yeah, I didn't get my training from books. I literally spent thousands of hours. I worked for a company. So hey, I want to show you one book. So here are two books that I read. So here's the answer to your question. This is one, right? This supports coaching, and this is another one. So these are two books that help you in that. What for the kind of work that I do, a big part of my background comes as a result of me working as an executive. So working as an executive gave me, boots on the ground experience of what it's like to produce results through other people, build teams, change culture, all those things that are important, and understanding the numbers and profitability of a company. So being in an executive position, that was, you could say, my foundation. But training to be an executive coach, I went through a lot of training, and there are a lot of tools that I acquired. And I also worked as a sales trainer, which no question supported me in being a sales training actually supported me in being a better executive. So I hope you saw those books. Dopamine from Accomplishment is a gift that keeps. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Manny, exactly. It's your own accomplishment. Like, no one can ever take that from you. Yeah, it is torture. Jordan Peterson has a couple of good books too. Yep, I've heard about Peterson's book. Oh, you're welcome, Rashid. And man, who is that? Oh, okay. So Rashid, you saw the books that's cool, that answer your question, Rashid. So I'm going to ask a question to the chat, and let's see if we can have some alignment on this one question. If we have some let's see if there's common ground. What's your biggest concern about women? And I'm saying women in general, so it could include family, friends, lover, spouse. Okay, good, cool, Rashid. What's your biggest concern about women? Hey, Paratoxic. Hey, thanks for joining us. Greetings, greetings. I'm asking the chat a question. Your biggest concern about women, even if you resolved it already. Just want to see if there's some common ground for men. Their fickleness, okay? Shifting the goalposts, so that's more fickleness, right? Okay. Real transcendental love. Maybe I need to understand what you mean by transcendental love. So, and I'll say you can actually even get dopamine secretions from meditation. So, there are all kinds of meditation, entitlement, accountability, shifting the goalpost. So, fickleness, shifting the goalpost, entitlement. Okay, that's a good one. Is the way women are brainwashed to believe how relationships should work, trying to act like a man. Entitlement. So we've got entitlement and fickleness, indoctrination. Their penis in. Yeah, I've said that to some women. You're jealous, aren't you? My biggest concern is how can we have a family and keep it together like the old days, given modern women's liberation. Okay. So for fickleness, the biochemical power. Actually, their biochemical secretions can work against them if you understand them. What I was saying in the beginning was about, that everyone flows oxytocin and dopamine. So that as a man, you can actually exploit that. That's what a player, even if a player doesn't understand that. But when you talk about fickleness, entitlement, women believe they should deserve it. So with entitlement, yeah, game playing. Most of the time, women who play games, they end up playing themselves. They find the wall is not very friendly, and no game playing woman escapes the wall. So with fickleness, can you guys see if you are firm and you take a stand and create boundaries for her, it squeezes out the fickleness. It squeezes that out. She has the less room you give. So the more room you give to a woman to run around and go crazy, the more she's going to change and become fickle. Hey, thank you, Manny. Thank you. Thank you. Manny said, go sign up, boys, and support this man over on Patreon. So what I'm saying is if you make clear boundaries to a woman, and when she steps out, actually over in Patreon, I actually have a really good video on how to do that. And I talk about how you get a woman to walk on eggshells, and that's to your advantage, and you should never back down. That addresses fickleness. And in some ways, it also addresses entitlement. So when a woman feels entitled, you could be upset about it, or you can ask her questions. So when a woman feels she's entitled to your resources, that's a woman has the right to feel entitled to anything. But you also have a right, especially if she's looking for you to invest in her, you have a right to want a return on your investment. So when you keep asking a woman, I have no problem giving this to you, I have no problem doing all these things to you, I need to understand what my returns are. I'm a man who understands that my money is for investing. I worked hard for it. It belongs to me, and I have the right to spend it any way I choose. And when I invest my money, I want something coming back to me. So if you keep asking women questions like that, it keeps forcing them to think about, one, what they're asking for, and two, what they're offering. After a while, it becomes kind of embarrassing, and a woman sees that there's not much there that she's really offering, or she has to go do something to develop herself so she can really offer something. I mean, if a woman has a really valuable network and she plugs you in and you're extremely successful and life is easier, that woman earned her keep. To say that it's her battlefield, only if you go play on her back, only if you allow her to lead you to her battlefield. And that is the problem that we have in society. Men have allowed women to lead them to a playing field where they have advantage, where they can be fickled. So a woman will tell you, hey, I have the right to change my mind. I'm a woman. I can be fickled. I'm entitled. She can be entitled to anything she wants. Like I said, you're entitled to a return on your investment. You just need to know what the return is. She needs to be able to clearly articulate it, and it has to be a return for you, not something that her mother convinced her, oh, your worth is all this. Well, it's like, well, that means nothing to me. You know, maybe she says your return is she's going to suck your dick. You can get that anywhere for a lot less, for nothing, for a bag of chips. Oh, the question. So when a woman feels like she's entitled and she says, you know, I'm an investment, men should invest in women. I hear that conversation often, that women are saying, I'm an investment. So investors, when you put money into the stock market, you put money in. If you put, for example, $100 into the stock market, you don't want to get your $100 back at the end of the year. You want, let's say at a minimum, $110. So that means you gain 10%. You put your money to work for you, and it gave you $10 back, right? So if I'm putting money into a woman, I'll explain it just like that. I put money in the stock market, I get a return back. I get back more than what I put in. So if I invest in you as a woman, what's my return on my investment? You know, because if a woman is smart, she should want a man who's a savvy investor. He knows how to invest his time and his resources in things that benefits. And if she's smart, she'll be the beneficiary. She has to know her role. So if a woman is entitled, believes she's entitled to what's yours, she has the right to do that. You just want to ask her, what is my return on investment? For every dollar I invest in you, what do I get in return? And if it's just, I'm going to give you sex, I'll cook you food, well, I can get that for a lot less. You can go to a supermarket and buy the food and cook it yourself, or you can go to a restaurant. So what's the difference? And if she says, well, I'll give you sex, well, I can get an escort for that. I can go to a strip club and pay sex, and it'll be a lot less. So you start closing her in. Now, she may get upset, except if all men start asking these questions, it will help women understand that they need to bring a whole lot more than sucking dick and cooking food. Well, and here's the other thing about vagina. As a man, I go out and I exchange. I work with my hands or I use my brain power. In exchange for my effort, someone gives me money. Now, I worked hard. It doesn't matter how hard I worked. It's irrelevant. But I worked for this capital. It's mine. It's my return on my hard work. If I give this money or spend it on or give it to a woman, and what she gives me in return is something that she got for free, a pussy. A woman didn't work for that. So that's a poor exchange. If I work hard for my capital and I give it to you for something that you got for free, that's just a commodity and everywhere, I'm now a poor investor. And these are things that men need to understand when dealing with women. And if all men are consistent about using this kind of language and helping women understand that you need to bring more, your vagina is really worthless. It's not worth money. I can get that anywhere. And I had this conversation with a woman and she was upset and she said, well, you have to pay to maintain it. I said, look, if you want to be a fat fuck, that's your business. Well, you won't be with me. Your job is to take care of yourself. That's not my job. She was very upset and offended. But even though she was upset and offended, we still had sex. She still wanted to have sex. So I think this is part of it. Men have to stop worrying about offending women. Right. So your question about other ways. So what I said in Patreon is enjoy the feeling, man. You're gonna have so you're gonna have dopamine, which is a real strong high, like your neurochemical. And when a man's main neurochemical called vasopressin meets with dopamine, it's a huge explosion. And you have oxytocin too, which will bond. And when you're oxytocin and vasopressin, sorry for being technical, guys, but vasopressin is stronger in men. And it makes everything else stronger, even testosterone. It makes testosterone even stronger. Enjoy it, man. And understand what you're experiencing is this great feeling that nature gave you for free. And you can have that experience by being with a woman. That's fine. It's healthy for you. Enjoy the feeling. Understand it for what it is. And don't expect, because once you start thinking it's love, then you start creating all kinds of expectations for the woman and how things should go. And that's when you start talking about, I got my heart broken and I was disappointed. Understand it for what it is. Enjoy the hell out of it, man. Don't try to suppress it. Enjoy it. Yep, they are attracted to the men they complain about. Right. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. If you have other ways to enjoy life, if your whole enjoyment comes from being with this woman, then you've set a trap for yourself. But in the Patreon video, I actually give even more. I lay it out more for men to understand how it's a self-made trap. Yep, Manny. There's a deeper bond that men can have. Yep. Um, and I even talked about how a man can have a deeper bond with his children than a woman can. See, if you just men are expecting women to be something they are not. And I'm asserting the only reason men think that is because women are selling this illusion from the media. It's and your mother's selling it. I made a video about how your mother's working against you. Your mother's selling it to you. Everyone's selling it to you. Fairy tales. You're supposed to be the prince, and you're gonna save Snow White, you're gonna kiss her. You're gonna put the slipper on Cinderella. You get to be the hero. In some ways, Manny, yes. Yeah. Yep. I mean, you hear about the nobility of men, the honor, nobility of knights, of men who negotiate, and men are less fickle. Men have expected things from women that they're not really good at. I mean, they could learn some of these things from men, especially if they grew up with their father. But you cannot expect a woman to give you the kind of consistency, logic, honor that men give. Now, you have a right to demand integrity, right? You have a right to demand that. You have 50 Shades of Grey. So women are just easily influenced. They just are. Their brains, they make up so many things. So they make up things they fear, and women make up fantasies about things they want. That's why we're saying that book that was written in 1819, women made fantasies. It was just a damn novel, and women made up a fantasy about how that novel could be their relationship. And if they, so let's just say love doesn't exist, but there are things that could represent love. So I can give her flowers, diamonds. I can open a door for her. All these things, in a woman's mind, these are love. Like, so those are things that could represent love, but a woman will take it that you love me if you do these things. But it has nothing to do with love. Like, you can care about a person, you can do all those things for a stranger, but a woman adds so much to it and makes up such a huge story that she ends up with something that never existed. And there's still men who have an iron grip with women. Well, actually, McNeil Bell, exactly. It's like men are still allowing Eve to run the show. You chase the pussy. You follow. You don't want to screw things up with her. You want to have sex. I mean, hell, maybe the story of Adam and Eve is not a historical fact. Maybe it was a warning about the future, that if you give women these rights, like, so Chris said, take away the 19th Amendment, right? So when women had the right to vote in 1918, they went from these long dresses to their knees to these short dresses with cleavage, and they became whores in the 20s. Because it seems that women equate any kind of power with sexuality. So, so maybe power is the ultimate aphrodisiac for women, which gets me to what I've been saying. It's your manly right and your biochemical right to express power. You have that right, and that is her aphrodisiac. Yeah, make you toast. Yes. Right. Yeah. I've wondered if the story of Eve was just a warning, and and the way you get her to stop is what they did in 1929 by crashing the stock market. You shut it down and you force her to depend on men. We're actually headed. It seems like we're headed in that direction. A repeat of history. You crash the economy and force women to have to depend on men. Exactly. So, yep. Exactly. The way you speak, there's a firmness. You can care, just like as a father, you can be firm with your children and still care about them. And sometimes you have to say, look, I'm making this choice because it's in your best interest, it's in our best interest. And if she doesn't like it, then let her live with that. Yeah, that would be something to take away welfare. Then they'd have to. And if you took women out of the workforce, but so ultimately, what I'm saying is this: the problems we have in society are the result of men allowing women to lead the way. They allowed women to bite the apple, and instead of them saying throw that apple away, the man took the bite. In being protective, if I'm making this all up, right? So if Adam wanted to protect Eve, instead of her getting thrown out of the garden by herself, he decided to bite it so he could be with her to protect her. So he sacrificed himself. So it's like men are sacrificing their own manhood. They're sacrificing themselves just so women can say they're comfortable by a man not being toxic masculinity. No, it's not irreversible. I'm asserting that society has been down this path many times, and we just keep learning the same damn lesson. It's we keep learning the same lesson. The Greeks understood it. See, what we're learning now is that why the Greeks made women property, and so we're going to end up right back there. Yeah, maybe there's something in our nature that makes us want to protect men. Yeah, what eventually even OnlyFans, at some point, men are just not going to care anymore. This younger generation coming up, they're having less teen pregnancies. Why? Because they're having less sex. So eventually it's going to run out. Yeah, they are happening in cycles, but at some point, men are going to have to understand that we can actually stop the cycle. It's ultimately up to men. Ultimately, it's up to us. And it's what someone said. It's men being consistent. It's a unity with men. I understand there are a lot of men out there who get upset with me and say that I hate women, and I really don't. I lived with beautiful women. I just never saw the logic in getting married, but I lived with the first woman for 5 years and the second one for 3 years. I didn't see any reason to marry. But I put my mother in check when I was 16. I did it in front of my father. So I was able to see the nonsense that was going on. Yeah. But at some point, guys are going to get it's at some point, guys are not going to get the same dopamine high from porn and OnlyFans, and it's going to lose its luster, its appeal. That's one way to do it. Self-identify as a lesbian. So, guys, that's it. I'm saying I'm going to bring this to a close. I'm saying that stop looking for love. Understand it's a neurochemical secretion and it feels really good. Enjoy it. Allow yourself to have it. Just understand, accept it for what's happening. Don't try to make more out of it than what's actually happening. She's having a neurochemical secretion. I'm not saying that love is impossible. And in Patreon, I talk about one of the ways that you will find it. A woman sharing her network with you is definitely, it doesn't have to be love, but damn, if she doesn't care and have an affinity and she's standing for you. So as men, you're going to have to constantly develop yourself to make sure your intellectual power is there. Find ways to express your physical power. It could be working out. It could be a bicycle. It could be hockey, wrestling team, whatever the hell you want to do. Wrestling if you have a son. But you're going to have to find outlets. And, you know, men engaging like this is also another way. Having power over your own sexual urges is really important. Yeah, that's so rape allegations. Watch the women that you're around, man. And don't be afraid to say no to women. And I understand sometimes they lie outright. Okay, Manny, that's fair. These are 2 requests. So I'm going to get ready to shut this one down. I want to say thanks. You guys have been great. Thanks for the super chats. I love the interaction here. If you're not with me on Patreon, go find me on Patreon. I love for you to see some of the work that I've put over there. And I'm going to do more live chats from now on. And until then, guys, you have a great evening and enjoy the secretions and don't get caught up because that's all that's there. Have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Take care. Goodbye.